When you're online scrolling through your feed, have you ever stopped to wonder who's actually making the rules? I mean, who is really speaking up for your interests in this giant, complicated thing we call the internet? It's a huge question, and the answer, well, it might just surprise you.
Yeah, who really runs the internet? It's a question a lot of us have, right? It can feel like this massive, uncontrollable force, shaped by powers way, way beyond our reach. So who's actually at the controls? It's easy to think it's just giant tech companies, or maybe some shadowy government agencies, or even just faceless algorithms pulling all the strings. But the truth is, it's way more interesting than that. It's actually a complex system built on a global community, and believe it or not, it has a specific place carved out just for you. Okay, so if there's a place for us, who exactly is sitting in those seats? Let's meet the groups who are formally tasked with representing, well, us, the average internet user. First things first, we've got to talk about ICANN. The simplest way to get your head around them is to think of ICANN as the internet's global address book. They don't control what you see on the internet, but they manage the entire system of domain names. The .coms, the .orgs, the .nets, and they make sure those names point to the right place. It's that coordination that ensures when you type in a web address, you actually get where you want to go. It's a super crucial job that most of us never even see. And that brings us to the big question. ICANN makes these really technical decisions that can have a huge impact on every single one of us. So who's in their ear? Who is making sure the perspective of the individual user, your perspective, is actually heard and taken seriously? And that is where the at-large community steps onto the stage. This is a massive, volunteer-driven global network that was built for one specific reason: to be our voice inside ICANN. We're talking more than 200 organizations from all over the planet, consumer rights groups, academic clubs, local internet societies, all pulling together with one clear goal: to get the user's perspective right into the heart of internet policy. Okay, so that sounds great in theory, but how does it actually work? How does a general concern, about something like online privacy get transformed into formal advice that can actually influence global internet policy? Let's break down the process. All right. At the heart of this process is a group called the Consolidated Policy Working Group, or CPWG. Seriously, think of this group as the engine room. This is where dedicated volunteers from that global at-large community roll up their sleeves and do the hard work. They research the really complex issues, they debate the outcomes, and they draft the official statements. And you can see the whole pipeline right here. It's a very deliberate step-by-step process. First, the working group spots a new policy proposal from ICANN that could affect us. Then, boom, they dive deep, researching and debating what it means for our rights and security. After that, they draft a formal statement with clear recommendations. But, and this is key, it doesn't just get sent off. That draft goes out to the entire global at-large community for feedback and consensus. Only after it gets that wide approval is the final advice sent straight to the ICANN board. Okay, so that's the process. It sounds official. But does it really make a difference? Why does any of this matter in your daily life online? Let's talk about the real-world impact. Oh yeah, this is not just some academic exercise. The advice that comes out of this process lands directly on the desks of the people making the big calls, and it absolutely influences policies that have very real effects on your everyday online experience. And just look at the kind of stuff they influence. We're talking about the actual rules for all those new domain names you see, like .shop or .music. It shapes the critical policies that protect your personal data when you register a domain name. It helps create measures to fight online fraud and make the internet safer. It even helps define your fundamental rights as a domain name owner. And this isn't something that happens once in a blue moon. The at-large community is always working. We're talking about hundreds of these detailed policy statements that have been sent to the ICANN board. That's a consistent, powerful voice at the table year after year. And you can bet this work gets noticed. The folks at the top recognize that the at-large community brings this absolutely essential perspective to the table. They know that without it, they'd be making these huge decisions in a total vacuum. So we've seen who's representing us and how they do it. What's the big takeaway here? And what does it all mean for the future? Well, the most important thing to remember is this. While the internet is incredibly complex, it isn't just run by faceless forces. There is a real, formal, and honestly pretty influential channel that was built specifically to represent the individual end user. The system isn't perfect, but it's there.
And it's active. And that leaves us with one big question to chew on. As our digital lives get even more complex, with AI, the metaverse, and technologies we can't even imagine yet, how much more critical is a strong, united, and clear voice for the user going to become? Definitely something to think about.